Exito, Unbounded, Woman of Success Without Limits. And today, you guys all know it's Wednesday, and I am recording live here. I have a special guest, an amazing special guest, another Latina, another local Latina, which to me is very powerful because I think that as local Latinas, we should come together and remember that collaboration over competition is how we boost each other up, how we leave a legacy of Latina leaders. And that's what this show is all about. It is all about giving a voice to us, the brown, the BIPOC, and the Latina bilingual voices out there that are mujerpreneurs, or that are, you know, the seasoned mujerpreneur thinking, I'm going to quit my job and I don't have anything left. And so we give tips and tricks. I say tricks, right? But they're not really tricks, but to be able to share with you all of our stories so that you, my friends, amigas chulas, can actually listen and grab some very, very important tidbits that you can probably use to rock your six figures. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my friend here from San Diego, and actually she works at KPBS San Diego, that's on San Diego State, and she is a beautiful author, but you know, she's got so much that let me just read. It just makes it easier. So her name is Elsa Sevilla, and she is a trailblazer in broadcast storytelling. She's an Emmy-nominated and award-winning journalist, TV host, filmmaker, speaker, author, business owner. She began her journey not speaking English and built a 35-year career uncovering untold stories. She is currently the executive producer and host of Historic Places with Elsa Sevilla, KPBS's longest-running, most-watched local series, and the only one led by a Latina. In 2008, she launched her production company and created Historic Places with her partner, Guillermo Sevilla. And from her start at KGTV 10 to building a standout career, Elsa leads with grit, vision, and a deep love for storytelling. As a keynote speaker, she inspires with a clear message, and her message says, history grounds us and gives us the confidence to live with purpose. Hola, Elsa, how are you?
Hola, Marti, muy bien, muy bien. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to turn down this. I'm hearing a little bit of a, here we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so thank you so much for being here. Now, let me ask you the question. Obvio, but just asked her the question. Are you bilingual?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a big question to ask because at one point I lost my Spanish and it was hard to communicate in Spanish.
Wow. You know, I wonder if that is something that we all go through, because even though I was born here in the U.S., my parents taught me my first language was Spanish. So when I went to kindergarten, all I knew was Spanish, right? And then you learn the English, and then you get, at least I was, and you can share with me your little story, but I was shamed into forgetting Spanish. I was shamed by my first grade teacher and my second grade teacher, and literally slapped by my first grade teacher. And that's when I started to, no, I didn't want to speak no more Spanish. Right. And it took me a while to get it back.
Yeah. I didn't have that experience, but I think it was sort of enforced, like speak English, right? So that you could hurry up and learn it and survive in school and in everyday life. I don't remember anyone telling me not to speak Spanish, but it was a long time ago.
Okay. Yeah, so it's always stories like that, you know, that we need to share so that we understand that if this has happened to you or it's happened to somebody else, we're here. We've been through it. We can share. Now, here we go into the questions. Now, let me just share with you this question with you. And for those of you that are watching, I am reading the questions because I wanted to make sure that I covered what I thought was important for you to share, because you have a wealth of knowledge and you have a beautiful history. So I wanted to make sure that my questions were those that were going to benefit the readers. So, question number 1. Your story, Elsa, is just such a powerful example of turning obstacles into a purpose. Can you share a moment in your early life or career when you realized that your challenges were actually preparing you for your calling in media and filmmaking?
Wow, there's so many, right? But I think that one of them was definitely being in first grade, not knowing English, and trying to learn English as fast as possible. But I do remember my first grade teacher during circle time as all the kids were sitting around, and she would hold up a book and point to it and talk about the story. Well, I didn't understand most of it, but I saw the photos, and that allowed me to connect. And that was the first experience, and I didn't know it at the time, but that would be the first sort of epiphany that would take me on the road of becoming a storyteller, a journalist, a filmmaker. After 35 years, I'm still telling stories, and it all starts from that moment that I was interpreting. And that story, the words, the pictures made such a big impact. There's other really key stories too. When I was in fifth grade, that was my real epiphany. I knew that I wanted to be a writer. I didn't know what type, but I'm like, okay, I'm open for that. A few years later in seventh grade, my mom suggested that I be a radio announcer because my teachers would say that I was quite social, which meant that I was quite chatty and class. And so my mom suggested that, but I said, I want to be on TV. I want people to see me and know who I am. I was in seventh grade, and that came out of nowhere. So I'm going to say that those three experiences in my young life really directed me to becoming a journalist and storyteller.
And let me ask you this. You said it was in fifth grade, right? And in fifth grade, were you like supported by a teacher as well as your mom or anybody else on the school staff? Did they actually listen to you?
I had several really good teachers and others that are, that weren't so great, but I don't remember having a specific teacher that was, supporting me and guiding me. Mm-hmm. I do remember watching my mom and how determined she was, how resilient she was. And she was always such people call it feisty, but no se dejaba, ¿verdad? She would look for an out when there was no solution. Watching her, years later, I found out, like, oh my goodness, those lessons that my mom gave me to not give up. If somebody says no, knock on another door until somebody opens. And I really took those lessons to heart and became very determined, very resilient. And I also listened to my intuition a lot, not knowing it at the time, but I think that we all have that voice inside us that tells us, what a little bit louder, what should be your path. And so those were the whispers that I listened to. And it has, guided me through my life until now. So it's just incredible.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And, when you said, you wanted to be on TV, right? You wanted to be you wanted people to see you. And, I'm just going to share real quick. At 12, at the age of 12, my dad, he had friends in Channel 6 and Channel 12, and the studios were in Tijuana. And that's also the studios for one of the radio stations there. Mm-hmm. And he was a friend with one of the locutores. And they took me and then all of a sudden he started to interview me. It was a children's show, and he actually asked me if I wanted to read, from the children's book, and I said yes. And then lo and behold, that wasn't really my dream, but it lasted for about 3 months, where every month, every week, my dad would drive me up there, and we were on radio, so they couldn't see me, but they could hear me, and they liked the fact that it was a child sounding voice that was reading the story, right?
That's awesome.
And so I thought, well, that's awesome, yeah. And now, I'm podcasting. I'm thinking, I like the mic. I like the mic. I don't know about the camera, but I like the mic.
I mean, I enjoy the camera so much, and I've always wanted to do radio. But after 35 years, I haven't. Not yet. Hopefully soon. But it is exciting. It's fun. It's creative. And you get to explore so many avenues and so many things about yourself. And it's fun.
Yeah, it is. I really believe so. Okay. Thank you for that. And then, so as a Latina filmmaker and a journalist, I see your book right behind, and we're going to be talking about the book. You've dedicated your work to preserving cultural history and giving voice to stories that often go untold, right? So let me ask you this. When you're looking at stories, when you're doing your research, how do you decide which stories to tell, and what responsibility do you feel as a storyteller when representing our comunidad?
Mm-hmm. I have to go back to 35 years when I started at Channel 10. I was on the assignment desk. We would get phone calls from everyone, people from the public and people who wanted a story covered. And so in that, about a year I spent on the assignment desk, and or maybe a little bit longer, I learned what a story was. I learned how to look for a story, and not only look for it, but sort of molded it to making it even more impactful for the viewer. Always keeping the viewer in mind. And I'm always looking for something that's unique, that's visual, that will make an impact on people who are going to watch it. And also, what do I love? So that was journalism. We got to cover all sorts of stories. But what it taught me was how to research a topic, how to research an expert, location, background, and all those things. So when I fast forward about 20 years, when I started filmmaking and producing the story places for KPBS, I started telling the common stories, right? The ones that we hear every day. But what I didn't realize was there was a lot of stories of people of color and women of color that were never told. And so it took me time to find the courage to start telling those stories. And now I'm on a mission to really tell those stories, and that's what I'm working on right now. I like to focus on women of color, that their stories were never told, and they're buried in the archives, and I want to pull them out of the archives so that people see those stories, because they're so powerful and impactful.
Yeah, and I agree, and thank you for that. Thank you for giving the voice. That's what this podcast is all about, is giving that voice that we need in order to be able to, to share the impact that we can make, and the fact that we do have a purpose. Now, I'm gonna stop a little bit, because I'm hearing like are you hearing like a sound?
Yeah.
I'm playing with all the things, and never fails that you're on, and it's like, oh my gosh, what's happening here? So I'm trying to make it so that it doesn't come through, but it's not really working. So hopefully I can get the editor to edit that out. Okay, so we were talking about the representation and the responsibility in storytelling. When you do a story, when you actually tell a story, what is that responsibility that you feel like? Let's say you were telling my story. My story begins you know, if I were to tell you everything that had happened to me, you know, all the ugly things that you think that could possibly happen to a woman happened to me. And so, what is that like? If you were telling my story, what is that responsibility that you feel? How do you bring yourself into the story without getting caught up in the story?
Well, it's taken years of training and experience, and we're trained to look at a story from a certain angle. As journalists, we're never part of the story, and we'll look at the angle that's more impactful. And I can tell within a matter, sometimes a matter of seconds, really what the angle is going to be and whether it's a great story. And it's just, it comes from experience, from training, and from gut instinct. And I look at the most powerful angle so that the viewer is going to look at it and be interested in. And then I have to weave in all the other elements that go into the story again, so that the viewer stays connected to the beginning, middle, and end. An example is telling the story of the first people of the Kumeyaay Nation, the indigenous communities that have lived in San Diego, Southern California, Northern Baja California for millennia. It was such an honor to tell their story because it took me a year to finally gain their trust that they feel comfortable for me to tell their story. And after that, we told 8 episodes of their story for KPBS. And that's one of the stories, projects that I felt the most proud because it was challenging to connect with them, but it was great that we finally were able to meet in the middle. And they shared their story with me that I never knew completely. And so it was incredible. I had a responsibility to be careful and truthful and be sure to include all the facts so that people who saw it would be super interested. And that was an incredible story, an incredible project to work on.
So it sounds like you could be researching for, like you said, and putting together the pieces to your final project. It takes, you said, a year. So what is the? So that tells me that you need a lot of patience. Obviously, you're working and you need a lot of patience, right? So, what is the, I would say, the average research time that you put in before you actually put out the story?
I think it really varies on the story. Some of them, the information, the visuals, and the experts come quite easily. But if it's something that's going to be more invested and you really have to do the research because I don't know it, like in the Kumeyaay Nation story, I knew a little bit, but not as much. And so I really had to research and ask questions. And even then, their story is so complex and beautiful and long, and I needed more time. I didn't have enough time. So I have to figure out how to do the best job with the amount of time that I have. And in this case, it took us a whole year to talk to them and gain their trust. And then after that, it took us about 8 months to produce 8 documentaries. So we were going extremely fast. And I wish we would have done, I always wish we had more time for a documentary, but we have the deadlines and we have to deliver those projects. And so it really varies on each project.
Ah, okay. So, when you say we, who is we when you talk about we?
Yeah. We is me, myself, and I, but also my partner, Guillermo Sevilla. And so he is, I'm the researcher, the narrator, the interviewer, and the host. And he is the director of photography, the co-producer, the editor. And so between the two of us, we do all that work when usually it's about a crew of 5 or more people on location trying to get all these episodes done. And it's just the two of us who do it together. Recently, our son Julian Sevilla has joined us on location and shoots to help out, but it's mostly my partner Guillermo and I.
Wow. Well, all in the family. That sounds like fun, you know?
Yeah, it really is.
That's good. Okay, so let's talk about mujeres. Let's talk about women. It's women in media. They're brown women in media, Latina women in media. It's not something that we usually, see. And then you're building a legacy. And the media world, from what I know, and I'm just the outside looking in, can be really, really tough, especially, like I said, for women of color. What advice, let's say you were talking to the students at San Diego State, what advice would you give to us BIPOC and Latina women who want to enter media, who want to enter filmmaking and maybe public storytelling? And how have you begun to build a legacy that lasts?
That's a great question. I think two things that I would tell young women, Latinas, women of color, and anyone that wants to go into journalism. It's a tough field, and it always has been, but it keeps getting more difficult. Two things that I think are super important are, focus on your education, take additional classes that are going to make you a more well-rounded person so that you have more knowledge than the average person. And then the second is create a community that either some of them are in media and some of them are not, but you have to have a great community who wants to see you succeed and will be there to help elevate you, in the sense that you want to be selective with that community because you want to make sure that they are your social capital, that they are there to assist you succeed and, work your way up through your first, second, third, fourth year. Especially in today's world where journalism is just so much more difficult and under attack. When we started, when I say we, Guillermo and I started at Channel 10, I started 35 years ago. He started about 37 years ago. And it was so different. Even though there weren't that many people that looked like me, and I felt extremely intimidated when I started Channel 10, I didn't give up, but at the same time, the environment at Channel 10 was always sort of like a family. We were very lucky to be in that station because I always credit the veteran photographers, journalists, writers, producers on the assignment desk because they really helped me with a great foundation. And I say that everything I learned in television has helped me every year, every few years, continue to evolve into a different, just something different, learn something different, like filmmaking. I had no idea how to, put a story together. At Channel 10, our stories were about 1:30. At KPBS, they had to be 26 minutes without commercials. So you can imagine I was pretty overwhelmed when I took on the assignment, but I thought I have to do it because I've done news for 20 years and I want something more creative, more compelling. And so I figured it out. Both Guillermo and I put our heads together and created a format that still works after 17 years on the air.
That's so beautiful. So are you currently still on the air right now, right?
Yeah, incredibly KPBS, the PBS stations, they use their content for many years. And so we're very fortunate to have KPBS as an incredible platform where they give us so much credibility because of the stories we produce and because of the platform that they are. The people who watch PBS and KPBS in San Diego, they love quality educational content, cultural art, which is what our show is about. And so, yeah, we've been on the air for 17 years. I want to say that we are the longest wife and husband production team producing docuseries for KPBS since 2008, early 2008. And we've been on the air the whole time. We just produced 3 new episodes on the historic restoration and revitalization of the Hotel del Coronado, which we are really proud. So we just did that. The last one aired in June of this year. So we produced 3 new episodes, and there may be more in the works of other topics. And so we're checking to see how things will work out, but there could be more episodes.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you said that you're a partner. So you do the choosing of the stories?
Most of the time, I have an idea of what I want to do because I heard of a story, or when we were doing a story, someone told me about another story that I thought was super, super interesting. And so that's a lot of time how I get some of the stories, or someone has an idea like, hey, we have a topic, can you produce several of them locally? And usually we can. So usually I do, and then I chat with Guillermo, and both of us sort of brainstorm and bring it together to kind of be the full topic idea that we want to produce.
That's amazing. And there's stories everywhere. Just to share a little bit about my grandmother. My grandmother actually, in her second marriage, married. His name was J.J. Chavez. We called him J.J., but it was Juan Jose or Jose Juan, I forgot. But anyway, he was the first milkman that Old Town had, right? So it was like, it was so amazing just to sit and with him. And, I was in college when Grandma married him, and he had stories to tell, about the fact that, he was brown, he was a dark brown man, but he was Hispanic. And, and stories to tell when he was delivering the milk, right? And some of them were good or positive, as you would say. And some of them were not so positive. But yeah, so those stories are there. So it's just like, wow, okay. And then
That's what I love.
Yeah.
That's what I love. When I first started at Channel 10 and started to do stories and going out in the field to report, I quickly discovered that we all have an incredible story to tell. You just have to listen and be patient, and then the story is just, really interesting. We all have great stories to tell. And the thing is, we're all storytellers. We're all telling each other stories every single day. Oh, this is what happened to me at work, and this is what happened when I went out shopping or stuff like that. So we're all storytellers, and we all have incredible stories to tell.
Right. And so talk about stories. You have a new book that just came out. It's called, it's called Camera Ready, but purpose, passion, and staying camera ready sounds to me like something that you absolutely are the expert at. And it's about, your book is about showing up for yourself no matter what. I read, little excerpts here in order to be able to share. And so when I was, reading the excerpts, I was like, ooh, so what does camera ready mean beyond the lens in terms of mindset, confidence, and purpose?
Great question, Marty. Well, here's my book, Camera Ready, From Hardship to the Spotlight. And I love the title. It was so hard to come up with a title, but I love it because it's about, when you're on TV, you have to be camera ready all the time. But the other thing is you have to be prepared as a journalist. You have to go out, get the story, and come back and prepare it before the deadline. So we would usually go out about 9:30 out into the field, and we'd have to do interviews, we'd have to get footage, we'd have to do multiple things, and then come back to the studios about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and we had to quickly write that and turn that around for the 5 o'clock. And that sounds like a lot of time, but the editor had to review it, and then the photographer had to edit it. And depending where it was in the lineup of the 1 hour show, usually the 5 o'clock or the 6:30 evening PM shows, newscasts. So there was a lot of things that were part of that, being camera ready as a journalist and as a filmmaker, TV host. But it's been little by little training, experience, learning what to do, how to prepare your part of the story that you're going to be in front of the camera, which we call a stand-up, or when you're going to be in the studio doing a piece on the anchor desk, talking to the anchor. And so you have to be camera ready all the time, preparing your story. And the title was just so cool when it came to me, and I love it. And from hardship to the spotlight, I came from hardship, trauma, crisis when I was 5 years old, losing my identity when we moved from Tijuana to San Diego, literally overnight, because my father had suffered a severe near fatal accident where he nearly died. And we had to immediately come to San Diego because it all happened in San Diego. And so hardship, it was so hard. Not only were we moving to a new country, learning a new language, but we had to survive and learn how to adapt in the sense of our father nearly dying. There was 8 siblings and my mom, my father. And little by little, he recovered, but he almost didn't. He did recover and he lived a long life till 65. But that left a big mark on me and my siblings. And so, can you imagine moving to a new country, not speaking the language, the culture, but on top of that, knowing that your father nearly died, and how could you turn that around? Then you were in crisis, trying to put everything back together, his health and moving to a new country, finding a place to live. There was 8 of us. Nobody wanted to rent to my mom because there's like, those are too many kids for an apartment. And so finally a local church rented a super large house to us. And that's little by little, we came to San Diego and then enrolled in school. A few years, like about a year later, my mom was able to buy, my parents bought a house, and that was more of a foundation for us. We got into a new school. So little by little, we started to kind of figure things out. But that's the title, From Hardship to the Spotlight. And for people who want to buy the book, it's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble online. And it's a great story. It's about first generation experiences. It's about finding my way. It took me 25 years to find my identity. And a lot of it, I found it through my community, Mana de San Diego, a nonprofit organization. My hermanas were there for me. And that's why I talk about how important community is. Obviously, my partner and my family, but also finding storytelling and history as a way to cope and a way to look at incredible lessons in history and learn from that. And that's where I have found purpose.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, like you said before, finding that purpose is can take up to 25 years because you said, that's where it kind of came through. I always, goof around and I tell my kids and my girls and I say, Mom doesn't know what she's going to be when she grows up still. and,
Love it.
and I think I think that there is a big stigma on that we put on, and I know being an educator, that we put on students, we put on our children that we think, or that they think that we think that they should know what they want to do by the time they walk into college. And I think that that's so not real because there's so much that could happen and different changes and all of that, right?
Yeah. I really think that I was really lucky. My mom gave me that independence. I'm 6 of the 8 kids. So by the time she got to me, she gave me more independence. But she also gave us more independence in the sense of doing things on our own. But we had mixed messages, right? Mexican, American, different kind of messages. So it was confusing. But I do remember her giving me that grace. What do you want to do? And she's the one that guided me into television by telling me, maybe you should go into being a radio announcer. And she never forced me. She never told me. She suggested it. And that's where I got the idea, like, oh, I want to be on TV. And from then I created this plan. Little by little, I wanted to be on the high school newspaper, the college TV newscast that we had, and the newspaper there. And then when I got to university at San Diego State, I did 2 internships, one at NBC San Diego and one in Washington, D.C., C-SPAN. So I was just navigating things and things were falling into place, but I was always listening to that instinct and following that. And I was able to carve my own career and what I wanted. But I do agree, sometimes we put those pressures on kids. But with the lesson from my mom, like gave me independence to choose my career, I did the same thing with my kids, and I encouraged them. What do you love to do? What do you enjoy? And so figure out how you can make that into a good paying job and do something that you love, which is what I did as well.
Right. And as an educator, I always, when I was at the college, even when I was at the high schools, I would always talk to the kids and I would say, don't chase the money for money's sake. Chase what you love. Figure out what you love. Now that's
Yeah.
going to be the hardest lesson because society doesn't show us how to look at what it is we love. We know what we don't like. We know who we don't like. We know who, doesn't. We know all the no's, right? But we don't really know how to express ourselves in sharing what it is we love and what it is
Yeah.
we like, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you find that to be still true when you go out in the field?
No, I've always followed my passion. When I was about 17 years old and I started a job at NAVALEX, Naval Electronic Systems Engineering, which is now SPA and I think it's changed names again. I was 17 years old working there, where most of the people that worked there were 30, 50, 60, 70, 65 years old. They were great mentors for me. And I remember one specific colleague who would tell me, Elsa, find out what you love to do and then figure out how to get paid for it. And I still remember that, and I passed that on to young students. Whenever I do my speaking engagements, keynote speeches, especially at colleges with young people, I always tell them, find what you love to do and then figure out how to get paid for it. But for me, I've been able to follow my passion, which is storytelling, and then history. And so I've combined those two. And I just keep following my passion. Right now, I'm transitioning into media training for folks who are interested in learning more about media and learning how to speak on camera and all those kinds of things. I'm also doing TV style studio interviews for CEOs and authors, small businesses who want to promote their business themselves. So I'm using all my TV experience and evolving, adapting, and creating more of the things that I enjoy doing. And, what can I bring that I know that can help other people and elevate my community and also help them succeed with what I've learned in television. So I've been very lucky. I say that everything, television gave me everything I have because it continues to give and give every time. And I'm so glad that I did choose the career that I love.
That's amazing. Yes, choosing the right career is always, you know. But here's the thing that I want to share too. When you say choose the right career, they may not be your first choice. You may have to choose one, choose two, choose three, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, we pigeonhole ourselves into thinking it's got to be this one, it's got to be this one, and it's not working. And I've seen so many people get to the point of burnout. As a business coach, I get to the point of burnout because they're trying to do something based on somebody else's view of how much money they can make. And yeah, they like it a little bit, but I can tell that it's not a passion.
Yeah, that
Right?
can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's amazing. Now let me just ask you, the book is on Amazon. Is it anywhere else?
It's on Barnes and Noble online.
Okay, that's good because not everybody does Amazon in this day and age. Are there any local bookstores that carry it here in San Diego?
Not right now, but I do have an upcoming event at the San Diego History Center where I will be having a book sale and a book signing. So if anyone would like to, join me, I will be at the San Diego History Center. It's at the end of the month, right after Thanksgiving. So the dates are, I'm looking at the dates right now. It'll be the 29th and 30th at the San Diego History Center. They can look that up online, and it's in Balboa Park. It starts at 10 o'clock. I will be there. It's a book sale and book signing, so people have a great opportunity. They can come out and meet me and do a selfie and get a Christmas gift and buy my book as well. And so that'll be exciting. I'm looking forward to that.
That's so cool. So, for the listeners that are listening right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put her links in the description below here on the Coach MartiAngel YouTube channel, and also when the audio drops on Friday in the show notes, they'll be there. And that's amazing. So let me ask you, thank you. First of all, I just want to say I am so incredibly grateful for you and giving me the time of day. It's just amazing to have you here. And but what, give us, the listeners, those mujerpreneurs, estas hermosas chulas, give us some tidbits, and then let us know where we can find you on social media or where, and and then let us know what else you've got.
Yes, I'm also very excited. First of all, Marti, thank you for having me. This is so much fun, and it's exciting to talk to your listeners. But we have this wonderful event at the KPBS studios, December 3rd at San Diego State University campus. So it's a Wednesday, December 3rd, and we hope that everyone can attend. It's the first Latina book fair, and I'm co-presenting this with the incredible Erika Alfaro. She's an international award winner and speaker. And so she has this wonderful group of Latina authors that have published recently or are going to publish, and it's all under her mentorship. And so what we wanted to do is showcase all these wonderful Latinas. There's 40 of us in the group, and about 20 of them are going to be at the book fair presenting their books. People can come and meet them and buy their books. We'll have a panel and talk about how we all published our books, how we got started, what was the most difficult, what was the easiest thing to do while publishing, and then after publishing, what has been the impact. So I'm really excited about this event. It's the first Latina book fair at San Diego State, KPBS Studios, with Erika Alfaro and myself, December 3rd, starting at 6 o'clock check-in time. So we really hope that everyone can make it. You can find that event on Eventbrite, and I can also give you the link, Marti, so that we can share it with your viewers. We hope that you guys can make it. Would love to see you all there, so we can talk about how to start writing your book and publish it.
Well, yeah, I think I need a group like that, since I've already published 2 books, and they're also on Amazon.
Well, golly gee, I invite you to come. I think you're busy, but I would love for you to come and be one of the authors that would be presenting along with all the other authors that we have. Each of them will have a table where they're going to sign their books. The books will be on sale. And, the guests can talk to the authors, learn about how people publish, and then the Q&A will also give more information about the whole process.
Yeah, that's amazing, because my first book was an ebook, right? And it's still out there, and it's still making money, and it's still on Amazon, and it's still on here, and it's making money. The second one we published I wrote a chapter, Latinas Who Boss Up, but I need a group like you, like your guys' group.
Well, let me connect you to Erika Alfaro. This group is amazing, Marti, because I've never felt so connected with a group of women, Latinas, or a group at all. There's a few Latinos that we're very proud have joined the group as well. Everyone is welcome. And what this group has done with Erika Alfaro, it's been an incredible mentorship and support system. We all help each other out. We're all doing podcast interviews. We're all doing keynote speaking. We're all helping each other sell our book or promote our books and stuff like that. So it's this great camaraderie that I've never found before, that I'm just so happy to be part of it. And I wish every Latina, every woman could have that kind of support system.
Absolutely. And I agree with you there. That's one thing that we're both I always say, juntas podemos más. And I always focus on being a servant leader. I teach about, in my community, my coaching community, teach about being a servant leader and realizing that competition is not the way to go. Collaboration is the only way that we can help each other succeed, especially now when we're seeing all this divisiveness and, division. We now more than ever need the power of community to be able to support each other, to be able to share our, our knowledge like you, right? And I had Erica Alfaro was actually my first guest on the Mujer de Exito podcast. Yeah.
Oh, so you know her already. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I knew, she was the first guest and she was nobody yet. She had just taken the picture with her familia over there in the fields. And after that, she just kind of blew up and it's amazing to watch her. She's a very nice young lady. So, we can talk after. Elsa, I could talk and talk and talk and ask and ask and ask. But this has to come to an end. You're a busy person. And I just want to say, gracias. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to have you on the Mujer de Exito Unbounded. For my listeners, reminder that you subscribe and hit that bell so that you never miss an episode if you're on the Coach MartiAngel YouTube channel, and you can listen to the podcast as it drops on Fridays anywhere you listen to your favorite shows. Elsa, thank you so much. Gracias.
Thank you, Marti. Muchas gracias por que tuviste aquí. La entrevista estuvo estupenda.
Okay, good. And now I just hope I can actually take that sound off. But anyway, for those, I see that we have watchers. So gracias por estar aquí. And we say adios. But we will actually be looking for you at her event. I want to just say that again. Her name is Elsa Sevilla. Just look her up. Just look her up, and I will put all her links in the description below and in the show notes. Gracias por estar aquí, mis mujeres hermosas, chulas. Remember que juntas podemos más, y nunca se te olvide que tú estabas aquí para brillar. You are here to shine, not to hide in the shadows.